In an earlier Wildflowers season, we looked at two species of orchids, a family of flowering plants which has evolved so far from ancestors of 60 million years ago that it's difficult even to identify some of the parts of the flower. This is the pyramidal orchid, with its cones of distinctively magenta coloured flowers, and although it's relatively easy to identify the perianth, that's the two sets of three outer parts of the flower which are designed to advertise the flower to potential pollinators and act as a landing platform. The first time you examine an orchid flower, it's very difficult to spot the stamens and carpels because they have become fused in a bewilderingly complex way, necessitating a distinctive terminology for the different parts of the flower. Here are the three outer tepals. Tepals is the term we use when there is no real distinction between sepals and petals, the centre one of which, along with the two upper inner tepals, forms a hood over a column-like structure at the centre of the flower. And at the bottom of the flower is the three-lobed labellum or lip, forming a landing platform for visiting insects. At the back is the long, slender spur, characteristic of flowers that are pollinated by butterflies and moths. But the scent is very different from other butterfly-pollinated flowers. There is a strong, strange sweetness to it, with a hint of an animal smell. It seems to have a particular attraction for day-flying burnet moths, but over 24 other species of butterflies and moths have been recorded as visitors. You see this pair of prominent shoulders on either side of the entrance to the spur. These serve to position the visiting insect very precisely in the little groove between them. Directly in front of and above this groove stand the two anther caskets, each containing a black pollinium or pollen mass. And each of these pollinia has a yellow stalk, known as the caudicle, the base of which is embedded in a sticky saddle-shaped disc called a visidium, which is covered with a membranous bursicle. And here, one on either side of the base of the column, are the two stigmas. When a visiting insect, precisely positioned between the two shoulders at the base of the labellum, inserts its proboscis into the slender nectar spur, it must brush against the bursicle, exposing the sticky visidium, which wraps itself immediately and irremovably around the proboscis. The pollinia are at first angled away from each other, but once attached to the proboscis they begin to swing slowly forward, so that they are precisely where they need to be to contact the stigmas of the next flower visited. One of Charles Darwin's greatest contributions to plant science was his great book on the pollination of orchids, both British and foreign, which was published in 1862, in which he had this to say about the pyramidal orchid. In no other plant, or indeed in hardly any animal, can adaptations of one part to another, and of the whole to other organisms widely remote on the scale of nature, be named more perfect than those presented by this orchis.